Hey everyone, it's Miss Ellis and Elvis, and we're going to talk today in math a little bit about telling time. So I want you to start by pressing pause on the video and talk to someone around you. It could be a sibling, a parent, an animal, a stuffed animal, and I want you to think of things that take 1 hour to do. So just kind of talk out a list of things that take about 1 hour to complete. Then press play on the video when you're ready. All right, so I hope you thought of some things that take about an hour to do. I made a little picture list of some activities, and you're gonna help me by telling me if these activities take about an hour, or maybe a little bit more or a little bit less. So the first activity is brushing your teeth. Does this take an hour, a little more, or a little less? Yeah, I would say this activity probably takes a little less than an hour, probably more like 30 seconds. So I'm going to cross that off. What about going to school? We're in school for actually about 6 hours a day, so I think this one might be a little bit more than an hour. What about a soccer game? Yeah, soccer games can, it depends on the game, but that's usually about an hour. So I'm going to put a check next to that one. What about watching 2 television shows? Yeah, so watching 2 television shows is about an hour. Each episode of a TV show is usually about half an hour, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what half an hour and an hour look like on the clock. So there are 2 kinds of clocks that we use. The first type of clock that we use is an analog clock. An analog clock is the kind of clock that we have in our classroom. Looks kind of like this one. And this is the one that we're really going to be learning about and kind of learning how to tell time on. The other kind of clock there is a digital clock, and that looks sort of like this. You've probably seen on your parents' phones, the time is shown digitally there at the top. It might be kind of hard to see right there where the time is. So we have kind of both clocks that we use, the digital clock and the analog clock, but the analog clock is the one we're going to be really learning about today. On the analog clock, the large part of it, the circular part of it that has all the numbers on it, is called the clock face. And I know that's kind of confusing because this is our face, but that's still what we call the big circular part of the analog clock, the clock face. Then there's 2 hands on the clock. I'm not talking about these hands. We call these little lines that point to the numbers hands. So there's one that's shorter, and it's usually a little bit thicker, and that one is the hour hand. And that tells you what hour we're in. Then the one that's longer and usually a little bit thinner is called the minute hand. Today we're mostly just going to be talking about the hour hand and telling time to the hour. So we're just going to be looking at the hour hand first. So like I said, the hour hand is the shorter and usually a little bit thicker hand on the clock. So right now the hour hand is pointing right at the 4. So what we say is it is 4 o'clock. Let's say the hour hand was pointing right at the 6. Right now it would be 6 o'clock. If it's pointing at the 8, it would be, go ahead and say it. Yep, 8 o'clock. At the 10 o'clock. And if it's right up at the 12, even if it's hidden behind the minute hand, it is 12 o'clock. So what's important to remember about telling time is that after 2 o'clock, the hour hand over the next hour is going to slowly move towards the 3. It takes an hour to get from the 2 to the 3. But that entire time that it's in between the 2 and the 3, it's still in the 2 o'clock hour. And a way to think about this is when we're reading a book in class like Magic Tree House and we're in chapter 2, We are in chapter 2 all the way until I start reading chapter 3. So right when we start the chapter, we're on chapter 2, but we're going to stay in chapter 2 all the way until we get to chapter 3. If I open up right to the middle of chapter 2, we're still in chapter 2. So when the hour hand is between the 4 and the 5, we're still in the 4 o'clock hour. Which hour are we in if we're between the 7 and the 8? Go ahead and say it out loud. Yeah, we're in the 7 o'clock hour. What about between the 10 and the 11? Yeah, we're in the 10 o'clock hour still. So we're going to do an activity now, and what you'll need is a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be blank on both sides. It could be a piece of lined paper. It could be a scrap paper. Any paper will work. You'll need some kind of colors. You can use crayons like I am. You could use colored pencils or markers or colored pens. Or if you don't have colors at home, that's fine. And then you also need a pencil. I'm going to use a pen because I want you to be able to see it in the video, but a pencil will be better just in case you make a mistake. It'll be easier to fix. Also, you need a plate because we're going to make a circle, and this is, I think, the easiest way to make a circle. So I'm going to put my plate right in the middle of my paper. I'm going to hold it down with one hand, take my pencil, and trace around the plate. Make sure not to move that plate. All right. And then I have a circle. And you might have guessed it, we're going to be making a clock. So the way I make a clock, it's not going to be perfectly even how I space out the numbers because I'm not perfect. So I'm just going to try my best. I'm going to start right at the top and draw a little line and the number 12 because 12 o'clock is right on top of the clock. Then I'm going to just go straight down below the 12 and make my 6. Because on a clock, we have the 12 o'clock at the top and the 6 o'clock on bottom. So now I have the 12 o'clock and the 6 o'clock. So the next numbers I'm going to draw are the 9 and the 3. They're right across from each other. So on my paper, I'm going to kind of find the middle there. And I'm going to draw the 3 on this side. And then 9 on this side. Remember, if I'm going too fast or if you make a mistake, just pause the video. That's the great thing about videos, you can pause them. So now I have 3 numbers on there. I have 12, 3, 6, and 9. Between each of these, there's 2 numbers. So I need a 1 and a 2, a 4 and a 5, a 7 and 8, and a 10 and an 11. So I'm going to kind of just try my best to put them evenly on there. And it's okay if it's not perfect. So I started by adding my 1 and my 2. And then I'm going to add 4 and 5. And 7, 8, 10, 11. So there's my finished clock. All right, so now that we have our clock face, we're going to add some color. So go ahead and choose any color. I'm gonna choose this kind of dark red color. And I'm gonna circle the 12 in the color I chose. And then I'm gonna color in the part of the clock that's still in the 12 o'clock hour if the hour hand was pointing there. So from 12 to 1, that's still the 12 o'clock hour. Then I'm going to choose another color, a different color. Remember, you can use anything you want to color with. I'm just using crayons. I'm going to choose blue this time. And I'm going to circle the 1 in blue. And then I'm going to color the entire 1 o'clock hour in. All the way till I get to 2. Because if there was an hour hand on here, anywhere it pointed in there is still the 1 o'clock hour. I'll show you one more. I'm going to pick a different color. I'll pick green. And I'm going to circle the 2 and color in the 2 o'clock hour till I get to 3. I'm going to pause here and go ahead and finish this up while you finish yours. You can press play when yours is all ready to go. All right, and here is my finished clock. And you can see I kind of repeated colors because I ran out. That is absolutely okay. So that is the end of our first clock lesson. I would like if your parents could take a picture of your clock and send it through Remind to your teacher so that your teachers can see what you're working on. That would be great. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.